Welcome to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum focused and dedicated to helping sales development professionals get better at their jobs and push the practice of sales development forward. This is a place for practitioners in the trenches every day getting it done, whether they're called SDRs, BDRs, ADRs, or others. It's a team charged with creating pipeline out of inbound lead activities and outbound approaches. My name is David Dulany, and I'm the host of the Sales Development Podcast. If you've got subjects you'd like to hear covered on the show or guests you'd like to hear from, hit me up via email at david@tenbound.com or LinkedIn or Twitter, or be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you found us. So, good afternoon, everybody. This is David with my esteemed guest today, Mr. Nick Ezzo of Host Analytics, the VP of Demand Generation. Nick, thank you so much for doing the call today and joining us on the Sales Development Podcast.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be here, David.
Absolutely. So I know that it's the last day of the quarter and you're completely slammed. You're doing presentations for your senior executives. So we definitely wanted to just dive in. I know that you've been doing some really exciting stuff at the account level on the account-based marketing and really showing some great thought leadership in that space. So I want to dig into that, but just for folks that don't know you as well, Nick, how did you get into your position at VP of Demand Gen? What's your background and what brings you up to today?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story actually, because I didn't study marketing in school. I think I probably took one marketing class in college because it was required, and I think I might have actually gotten a C- or something like that. But my background is IT. I spent 10 years of my career in the call center space as an IT person, and later as a call center consultant. And what was interesting about the call center space, and trust me, I'm making a point, we measured everything maniacally. We measured average talk time, average speed of answer, average wrap-up time, abandon call rate, you name it, we had a metric for it. When I later got into marketing, after about 10 years being in business, I found that there was a very similar parallel in marketing statistics. And instead of the call center stats, now we're measuring things like open rates, click rates, time on page, MQL conversion rates, pipeline velocity, funnel metrics. And so it was a kind of a natural progression for me to go in from the IT call center consulting realm into marketing. The way I actually got into marketing was kind of a battlefield promotion. I worked for a company that was downsizing right around 2001, and my CEO said, "Well, we want you to take over some of the marketing functions." And I said, "I don't know anything about marketing." He said, No. You know how to do website design, right?" And I said, "Well, I do my band's website." And he said, Good enough. You're the webmaster." And then he said, "Well, you know how to run events too, right?" I'm like, "No, I can throw a party." He's like, "Good enough. You got the job." So literally overnight, I went from being basically like a IT kid to being a marketing person. And once I got into marketing, I realized, this is not as hard as I thought. All you have to do is understand a little bit of behavioral psychology, have a little bit of creativity, and have a penchant for statistics, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, over the last 10, 20 years that marketing has become more and more, numbers based, I guess you could say. And people still have kind of a, they look at marketing as, oh, you guys, make the pens and make T-shirts and stuff like that. Where
you guys do those PowerPoint decks, and it's a very creative thing. And what are the brand attributes, and how does it make you feel? And that's one part of marketing that kind of is irritating to most people. But the quants like me are the ones who actually pore over the data and would gladly spend hours trying to dig through data to figure out where's an underserved segment of the market that I could go create an awesome marketing campaign and uncover some hot leads for my SDR team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in looking at the data, you can dig in and then look at the behavior of the SDRs and see, is there something that we could be doing different to support the programs, based on the data that you're seeing. And so it's all becoming more and more numbers driven, and the cross departmental, I guess you could say, between sales and marketing. As VP of Demand Gen, what are some of the hot topics that you focus on every day? I mean, you're running basically everything that is at the top of the funnel and interacting with the SDRs. Is that right?
That's correct. All the digital, online and offline campaigns.
Excellent. Okay. And I know that, lately you've been focusing more on the account level and looking at things from an account-based marketing perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that. How do you go about selecting the accounts? How do you go about, dividing them up and then going after them to be able to support the SDRs and the pipeline?
Yeah. So account selection. Yeah. So to answer your question directly, David, yeah, we embarked on an ABM journey about a year ago, and we've made a lot of progress in the last year. Account selection is one of the hardest parts about it, and it's hard because if you get it wrong, then it affects the outcome of your entire program. Meaning, if you've only selected 50% correct accounts, then no matter how good your programs are, you're only going to have 50% success rate. So account selection is something we care very much about. And at first, we let the sales reps pick the accounts they wanted to go after. But, I don't want to cast aspersions on the qualifications of sales reps, but some of them are better at others at picking accounts. And they normally do it in 4 different ways that I've seen over and over again, and none of them are very productive. Either they sell to people they've sold to in the past, like I'm going to bring my Rolodex, I'm going to call everybody I sold to in my last company. Or secondly, they try to farm the territory that the last guy was unsuccessful at farming, which may or may not work. Maybe it was a bad sales rep, maybe it was bad sales territory. Third, they spend a lot of time cold calling, and they end up talking to people and selecting accounts of people that pick up the phone when they call. And as Groucho Marx famously said, 50 years ago, I wouldn't ever want to belong to a club that would have me as a member. And likewise, I wouldn't want my salespeople spending an hour on the phone talking to somebody who has an hour to spend. So, the final way that I've heard, I'm not bullshitting you on this one. I had a sales rep tell me, "Hey, Nick, I've got this awesome account. My kid goes to school with this other kid, and his dad's a CFO." And to my response to that was, "That's awesome. Totally not scalable. So, how do we pick accounts for you?" So honestly, what we've done is we've allowed the reps to choose accounts that they care about, and we augment that with some data-driven account selection processes. So we use 2 different technologies. One of them is from a company called Spiderbook, which is now part of DemandBase, and they use a lookalike model to evaluate our current customer base and to provide accounts that look like people we've sold to in the past. We also use Infer for lead scoring, but they also have an account scoring component, and they will score our accounts as well based on similarity or dissimilarity against our current customer base. So we've taken a data-driven approach to put accounts into the hopper. Does that answer your question about that before I move into the kind of execution question?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the big questions that people have is with the slew of different technologies out there, what are some practitioners like you using that are working? And it sounds like Spiderbook and Infer are 2 that work really well in that initial stage of account-based marketing, which is what's a scalable way to pick out the accounts.
Yeah, that's right. So once we've got the accounts picked out, the very next topic is, okay, how do we get the people into the accounts that we care about? And in our world, we care about basically 3 different personas within the company, and those are pretty much title-based personas. And so what we do is I've challenged my marketing ops guy to fill 80% of these accounts with the 3 to 5 top contacts that we care about within the account. And we do that from a variety of methods. We've got data sources like Inside View, Zoom Info, Discover.org, Rain King, LeadSpace, you name it. We've got all this technology, and we pull these names into our ABM program so that we can at least market to these people. Then our task is, how do we engage with them? And so we've got a wide variety of techniques to get the attention of the buyer. Some of those are classic techniques like email marketing. We put them into an email marketing nurture stream that is persona based, and it speaks to what their needs are. We also do survey marketing against them. So we'll hire a firm to go out and do email surveys to find out what their pain points are. We invite them to webinars and VIP events. We send them swag, which stands for stuff we all get, a branded mug or mouse pad or battery charger. And so we really just try to get them on all fronts. We even do kind of air cover stuff like retargeting and account-based advertising, so that these top accounts, when my SDR is calling them, they at least have some familiarity with who Host Analytics is.
Right, exactly. And it's taken from a strategic approach, first taking, using a data-driven approach to find the accounts, the correct accounts that look like and, show a propensity to actually buy the product. So that's thing number one. And then who are the people, the 2 or 3 people? You work with your marketing ops guy to get those people in there, get good contact information from some of those vendors. And then very careful and strategic targeting, getting them the right swag, the right emails, the right surveys, and all those things, so that by the time the SDRs call, there's some familiarity there.
That's right. That's right. And if I can correct you on one thing, some people say swag, some people say swag. If you look it up on Urban Dictionary, swag means something entirely different. I won't say it here, but go ahead and look it up.
Okay. No, that might be a carryover from my high school days. I don't know. So I'll try to make sure. I like the acronym though. It's stuff we all get. But if it's but I mean, to your point, it's if you're just sending all this stuff out randomly, which is I think what a lot of companies do, or they get their lists, from non-data driven sources, like your friend whose dads went to the same school and stuff like that, then you're just kind of throwing money out the door. And then having the SDRs go on random cold call missions, without really thinking through the list, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same. You're throwing money out the door. Um,
That's
but I mean, it sounds like you've got a much more careful approach, and it's working. Now, once the contact information gets into the hands of the sales development reps, do you have it broken out where there's A, B, C, and D personas per se, for example, or accounts where the account executives will be prospecting to those and the SDRs will be prospecting to others? Or how does it operationalize after, say you get a lead or you get a good
yeah.
list?
Yeah, good question. So in our environment here at Host Analytics, the SDR team is the tip of the spear in almost all circumstances, meaning the SDR will be making the outreach. It's not that way at every company, but we literally have 20 somethings calling into CFOs and having conversations with the office of the CFO. So having said that, those SDRs will strategize with our account executives to come up with a game plan for each and every account, and it's going to be a tailored game plan for every account, depending on what their circumstance is, who we're trying to replace, who we think the competition is, what are some of the things, what do the players look like, what are they, who do we know there. And so the SDRs and the account executives strategize on a weekly basis on the very top accounts that they care about. But it's really the SDR team that we have empowered to go and carry the mission forward.
Okay, and what kind of a ratio do you have between the AEs and the SDRs? It sounds like it's 1-to-1, or is it two
Well,
to
it's
one, 3-to-1?
not quite 1-to-1. Sometimes it's 2-to-1, sometimes it's 3-to-1. 2 or 3 account executives to an SDR. That is, and they're primarily aligned with the SDRs on the outbound or ABM side. On the inbound side, we took a different approach just this year. And because inbound is very lumpy, meaning some things come in different cities and geographies and patches and enterprise versus corporate, we round robin every inbound lead. So everything that comes in either through the web or through content syndication, through a webinar, through a regional event, all that stuff gets round robin across the SDR team, irrespective of the alignment with the outbound AE.
Okay, and so do you have your SDRs broken out between outbound and inbound? So do you have a specific inbound team, or are they hybrid?
Yeah, they're all blended hybrid at this point in time.
Okay. That's interesting because
We've tried it
yeah.
both ways, by the way. Just we've gone back and forth a couple of times, and I think we've come up with a model that works. Outbound aligned to a sales rep, inbound round robin to smooth out the peaks and valleys across the SDR team.
Okay. Okay. And so for example, a lead will come in and it's round robin, not given out depending on a territory to kind of whoever's next in the list, and then the SDR can work that lead all the way and get credit for bringing that lead home for the account executive wherever they end up setting the meeting.
That's right. It's a little bit more sophisticated than that. And if I could just talk about that for a quick second,
Yeah.
we have an application that was custom built for us by Lean Data and Infer. And as far as I know, we are the first users of this application. When a lead comes in, we first evaluate, is this a customer, an existing customer? Okay, then send it over to our customers for life team. Is it a partner or potential partner? If so, send it over to the alliances team. And then whatever's left, it goes through a pretty sophisticated routing, which says, has there been activity on this account by anyone in the last 60 days? If so, send it to the person who did the activity so that we can then sort of match up the activity with the person who did it. There's continuity there. After that, then we round robin all the A leads, then all the B leads, then the C's and the D's. And so everyone gets an equal shot at all the A's and all the B's and all the C's and all the D's. So nobody gets preferential treatment. And so far, that's been working really well for us. It's a pretty sophisticated system, but it's solved a lot of problems for us.
No, that's amazing because I think one of the big headaches that you get with running an SDR team, for example, is that when a lead comes in and everyone's really excited about it, but then they do their due diligence and it turns out to be a current customer, right? Or their buddy down the hallway had been working it for 3 weeks, but it was a different name or something like that in the system. And,
Yeah.
it causes a lot of friction. And so, was that something that Lean Data and Infer came to you with as a product, or it sounds like it was a custom product that you guys worked up together?
Yeah, so they approached me because I was an existing customer of both Lean Data and Infer, and they said, "Hey, we've come up with this idea that we want to work on together. And seeing as you're a customer of both of ours, how would you feel about us, building this out with you? And then you give us the spec, or we'll work with you on the spec, and then we'll just build it to your spec." And that's exactly what they did.
Okay. Well, that's terrific. I wonder if do you know if they're doing it with any other companies, or is it still kind of
Well,
in?
they've now productized it, and they're actively selling it. In fact, next week I'll be up in San Francisco delivering a case study on this for Dreamforce.
Oh, okay. Nice. Very good. I know you're out and about quite a bit, which is cool. We saw you at the dinner the other night, and you just did a webinar for Infer a couple days ago, right? I
Yeah,
was that correct there? Okay. Very good.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I'm definitely out and about. I've got the good fortune here at Host Analytics to be able to implement a lot of different technology to solve our problems. We're a small team. I'll be honest. We don't have 40 people in marketing. We don't even have 20 people in marketing. But somebody told me a while back that 100 years ago, if you were running a sailing ship and you needed to operate a sailing ship, you needed 100 men. You needed men to rig the sails, and you needed somebody to work the tiller, and you needed somebody else manning the galley, and you needed people in the rowing, and it takes 100 people to man a schooner to get a sailing ship from point A to point B. I also heard that recently that today's modern battleships and battle cruisers can be run with as few as 3 people running this massive ship because it's all automated. And so that's kind of my approach to technology, in that I love to use technology, but only to the degree that it will help my small team act like a much larger team and get us a wider reach than we would ever be able to with such a small team.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing if you think about it. Just maybe 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, you're probably doing the work right now, like you said, of a much larger team, but it's so streamlined because of the technology. And I tell my
Hmm.
son, I'm like, look, there's only going to be 2 jobs. You've probably heard this before, but there's going to be 2 jobs when you grow up. one, it's either you tell the robots what to do or the robots tell you what to do, right? And so my recommendation is,
That's right.
learn the technology so you can harness it because like you said, you're probably doing the work of 10 different people right now by using tools like Spiderbook and Infer and Lean Data and all these things. So,
Yeah, and then
yeah.
what it takes to keep these robot overlords off my back?
Well, we bemoan the fact that there's 2,000 different marketing technology vendors right now, and they're all probably calling you every day, Nick, to set up meetings. But the truth is, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting products right now, and there's a lot of different ways if you can organize all the different technologies into a way that really helps you, instead of kind of letting them get out of control. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have a good marketing operations person that you can rely on to help you sort through that stuff. So,
Yeah, that's a key role these days that didn't really exist a few years ago. It's marketing operations and analytics. So not only does this particular person run all of the systems and make sure that all these systems are talking to each other and everything's wired up correctly, and no leads are falling through the cracks, and that the SDRs are getting notified appropriately, but he also provides me with information about what's working and what's not working. And so that's the level of detail that you absolutely need. That would be, I think, marketing ops is probably the first hire that any marketing department should make.
yeah, and the good ones out there, they're usually freelancers, because they know that they can work anywhere and they know a lot of people, so they just kind of go from company to company. But the good ones are they're very in demand. And it's funny because one of the first things that I did when I started running a big, complicated sales development team was try to get a job rec approved for a data analyst to be attached specifically to the sales development team, because the team and the interaction with marketing is so data driven and involves digging through data and understanding what's going on, that I felt really strongly that we needed someone who would focus on that specifically and be able to constantly report on where we could be improving.
For
And I
sure.
think that's a direction. If you're getting above a certain number of sales development reps, interacting with someone like yourself who's producing all these all these programs and producing all this data, that someone's got to be the navigator on the ship, right? Back to your ship analogy.
Sure, that's exactly the person's role.
Yeah, I mean, just an analyst, who can always be monitoring, you know, are we in the red anywhere? And what should we,
Hmm. Is
what,
that an iceberg up ahead, or is it land?
right.
Is it a whale that we're out there trying to hunt? A huge account that we want to bring in. That's the navigator is a key role on the marketing ship.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting because, I would bring that to your old school sales leader or marketing leader, and they would look at me like I was nuts. Because, why not just hire two or three more SDRs? Get some more pipeline. But it's like, well, wait a minute. We could have we keep going back to the ship analogy, but we could have like we could add like four more people on the the rows rowmen or whatever downstairs,
Yeah,
doing the rowing.
yeah,
Sure, we can add four or five more bodies down there, but what if we're rowing toward an iceberg? Like,
yeah, exactly.
right? So it's interesting. I
Yeah,
think
wouldn't it be great to take those four rowers and then turn them into an awesome navigation GPS system that will alert you before you hit the iceberg? Hey.
there you go. There you go. Well, that's good. So I know your time is short today, but I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions. One is, do you see anything that's come up lately that just has stopped working? Any marketing tactics, any SDR tactics, anything around building pipeline that, you came to the realization like, geez, I mean, that worked, a couple of years ago, but now we got to drop this.
Yeah, cold calling. That's one of them. Cold calling is dead. Because if you think about it, and by the way, when I look at our reports, that's the lowest converting activity, meaning, 1 out of 100 people who take a call will actually set up a meeting with a sales rep. And if you stop and think about that for a second, it seems to be fairly logical. They're not looking to buy anything. They just happened to pick up the phone at the wrong time, and there was a sales rep on the other end, and they couldn't say no, and they ended up taking a meeting. And it's a horrible way to go about it. Warm calling, I don't know if people call it that. I think I've heard that term. Is a much better approach, which is to send out some air cover, whether it's through advertising, email, invitations to events, whatever. And then if somebody shows any kind of interest at all, then you prioritize them, you score them, you figure out how to get in there. And so it's a much better approach. You can also use things like intent data to figure out what companies are out there that are researching your type of solution or researching problems that you can solve. And using intent data nowadays, it's another kind of GPS. You can figure out, is there a whale over there? Is that an iceberg? And that's the kind of stuff that has replaced just the brute force cold calling. It wasn't that effective back in the day. It's even less effective now. The second thing that is I've seen diminishing in its effectiveness over the last, I want to say 10 years is email marketing. There's a million different places that your email will get stopped before it gets through to your person, whether it's the company level domain filter or firewall, whether it's the person's junk mail folder in their Gmail or Outlook, or whether it's just the person who sees it and the image doesn't load and they just hit delete because they don't like your subject line or they don't like your look of your email. I'm honestly surprised that email marketing still exists in any form, because it's done poorly and it's done a lot. Literally, I get 50 messages before lunch and 50 messages after lunch, and the vast majority of them are unsolicited. The old axiom about, the best time to send an email, a marketing email, is between 10 and 11 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, guess what? Everybody in the freaking world is sending out emails during that spamming hour. And so that's the hour that I literally just shut down my computer and don't do anything, because, it's inbox competition. Having said that, the one thing I have found effective, particularly sending emails to the C-level executives, is sending emails from one-to-one personal emails on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning. Because one thing is for sure, executives check their mail on weekends, and they're typically checking it from their device, either at some kid's soccer game or kid's birthday party or some event that they've got some free time, or maybe they're standing in the supermarket checkout, but they're going to check their phone or something while they're out doing their stuff on Saturdays and Sundays. So my advice to your audience is, if you want to get to the very important top officer or veto, then send them a targeted email, not a spam email, targeted email on a weekend.
Interesting. Okay. And better if it comes from your CEO directly, or can it come from the actual sales rep? Does it?
Yeah, best case. Yeah, best case is C-level to C-level. 2 or 3 companies ago, I had a shadow account of my CEO, and I would literally send out dozens of emails on his behalf every Saturday and Sunday morning. And my biggest fear was that I would get engaged in a conversation with another CEO, and how long can I keep this ruse up that I'm not really that guy? I'm just some marketing dude posing as him. But no, C-level to C-level is the best way to go. If you can't do that, then make it come from a person. And title is important, but it's not that important if the content is tailored and the person has given some thought into what goes into the email, some research and care has been taken. It can be from anyone.
Yeah, I mean that's the key, right? If they open it up and it addresses some kind of pain point or something that they're concerned about, they might take a minute to read it and respond. But if it's just a bunch of stuff about your product or how great you are, it's all about you.
Or personalization fail. That's the other one I love is people who try to do personalization, but they don't realize how dirty their data is. I got an email the other day. My name is Nick Ezzo, right? So first name Nick, last name Ezzo. The email greeting said, "Hi Ezzo." I'm like, what is this? My high school gym teacher or something? The hell's this? So yeah, that's the other thing people don't think about is data quality. It's the last thing people think about, but honestly, David, it is the most important thing. Your data is the foundation on which all of your programs are built. So do me a favor and take some time and clean up your database. If you can't do it, hire somebody to do it, because for every email that you send out that's good, I guarantee you there's at least one or more that are terrible and are hurting you.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think that there's some very good data providers out there, but they are pretty pricey, and so it's sometimes it's hard to take that in as a budget item and say you have to make the case, right, for going up market to some of those higher level data providers and spending the money. But I agree. I mean, it's so worth it. The other thing is,
Yeah, and
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
there's even some middle tier ones too. So there's some really expensive ones that are out there, but there's also some that are offshore. They can apply some rules and logic, and even automate some of your data cleanup, like taking the all caps and converting it to proper case, so that when the email greeting says "Hi Nick," it's not saying "Hi Nick." It's just normal case. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just basic stuff that can be done even offshore.
Yeah, and then the other thing is putting the tools into the hands of like an SDR. I remember one time one of the SDR managers at a company I was working came up to me and they were white in the face and they said, Bobby just sent out 100 emails that the token didn't pull through. And so it was just like a bunch of
Oh, I've done the same thing.
gobbledygook. Yeah. Oh my God, that was
Oh,
the worst.
David, I did something funny. Here's one for you. Here's it's not to story top you, but I sent out an email to I don't know maybe a few thousand people last year, and instead of putting the token in there, I had the placeholder of Colleen, who was the girl that like set up the program, and so I literally sent an email to like thousands of people that said, "Hi, Colleen." So I'm guilty of that as well. But
Yeah.
I sent out an email immediately following that, and the subject line was, "We know your name's not Colleen." And we've had higher engagement on the apology email. I even had a couple of people say, "Did you do this on purpose?" Because normally I don't respond to these things, but your follow-up email was so funny and so like self-deprecating that I felt like I needed to call you guys back.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we're onto a thing, send out 500 screwed up emails on Saturday to all as
Yeah.
CES. No, but no, I know. I mean, the creativity becomes hard. That's one of the things you're coming in and grinding every day, and sometimes it's hard to come up with something creative. I mean, you kind of stumbled on that one, you know, without even trying to be creative.
Yeah, my CEO wasn't happy about that one at all because he was copied on that. He was on my distribution list, and he's like, "What is this?" I'm like, my bad. This
Yeah,
the follow up was actually outperformed 3-1 the original email.
that's
So
amazing.
yeah,
And on your other point, with the cold calling, how do you explain that to your kind of old school, sales leaders who are walking through the aisles of all these, highly compensated SDRs and AEs, and there's dead silence, and they're going,
mm,
"Hey, what's going on here? How come you guys aren't cold calling like we used to do back in '82?" That's how we got all of our. I've had this
yeah.
conversation before, so what do you
Yeah,
say?
that's a difficult conversation because I've seen that happen before. Where's all the energy? Why is there no buzz? This pit energy. And, sometimes the pit energy is the clackety clack of fingers on the keyboard, because, we're doing research and we're putting, thoughtful ideas behind our outreach. And, we're trying to figure out, what's the next campaign to put out there. And it is it's a challenge, but I'll tell you, one of the things that I have found to circumvent that or to kind of jumpstart it is if you've got an SDR or two that are just like fearless on the phones, go up to them and say, "Hey, look, it's too quiet in here. Why don't you guys start making some phone calls?" No one wants to be the first person making phone calls in a quiet room because that means everyone can hear what you're saying. So, you get the two people who are fearless, have them start dialing, and then, everyone else will follow suit. So that's the way out of that trap.
Yeah, or you move their desks right next to the CEO's office, and just be like, "Hey guys, will you pound the phones all day so he can hear you?" And then it should be okay. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Well, Nick,
Maybe we should do record some white noise of people making phone calls and just play that in the background, kind of like Muzak, you know?
right?
It sounds like there's like buzz going on in the room anyway.
No, I like that. Just pipe it in.
That's your next
Bring a
business
little
idea. Go ahead.
speaker.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and market that, man. I'll market it for you. You go start the company and we can do it together.
End the silent sales floor today with this new
Yeah,
product.
background buzz.
I like it.
Background buzz incorporated.
I like it. Well, Nick, thanks a lot, man. That was an awesome talk, and appreciate all the new ideas and your insights. Good luck with the end of the quarter, and I'll give you a few minutes back in your afternoon.
Hey, thanks, David. It was a lot of fun. Take care now.